Greetings, everyone. I'm Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to my 10 favorite albums to listen to in the fall, in the autumn season, right? I've always thought that there are certain albums that go very well paired with certain seasons. And sometimes you just get more in the mood to listen to certain records when the seasons change. And if you live in an area where the seasons don't change all that much, then obviously something like this doesn't mean a hell of a lot to you. But for someone who has lived his entire life, grew up in the Northeast, in New York, here in the United States, we do get the four seasons. Maybe not as spectacularly as we used to years ago, because the seasons have changed a little bit. But still, we do get the transition from summer into fall, fall into winter, winter into spring, spring into summer, round and round we go, on and on and on. And there are certain albums that I have spent a great deal of time with in my life that for some reason the music triggers certain emotions that you get when the seasons do change. And the music contained on these albums matches the kind of the characteristics and the elements that are prevalent in those seasonal changes. So we are now in fall here in the Hudson Valley in New York. It's autumn. The weather has gotten a little cooler. Right? We had like a little bit of an Indian summer. It was fairly warmish up until like about a week ago, maybe less. So the summer kind of lingered a little bit, and it's been very dry. But now all of a sudden the chill has started to settle in. The leaves are changing; they're falling. So you get like kind of like the leaves falling on the ground, the leaves decaying, right? That whole 9 yard, the whole thing. It's starting to get rain a little more often once again, thankfully, because we've been pretty dry for a couple of months. But and when the weather starts to turn like this, all of a sudden, you start dressing a little bit differently. You do different things when you go out and whatnot, and all of a sudden you start to want to hear certain types of music, certain albums that match up with the season that's coming in, right? For instance, the summertime is much, much different. I listen to way different music in the summer than I do in the fall and in the winter. Summer is all about being outside and bright music and sing-along music and simple music and anthemic music and all that sort of thing. But then, when the colder months start coming in, it's like music that you listen to indoors, music that you listen to, you're trying to keep warm and you want something that gives you, it's a little different feel, right? You need different elements, you need different characteristics in your music depending on kind of what's going on outside, right? So I do have lots of records that I like to listen to, CDs in this case, right? But I have lots of albums that I like to listen to in the colder months. They match the colder seasons better. And fall is probably my favorite season out of all the four. I love summer too, but I love fall. Absolutely. I always have loved fall. And there are certain albums, there's certain types of music that I really gravitate towards in the fall season. I'm going to do one of these in the winter time as well, because I do have my winter albums too. So I've picked out 10 albums that sometimes I listen to more often in the fall seasons than I do in other times of the year. And sometimes I don't listen to them at all during the course of the year until this time of year. These are special albums that I pull out, in the fall, in the autumn, and they just kind of match my mood of how it is outside. So I haven't ranked these in any particular order. These are just kind of random here, but these are some of my favorites. There are others. These are not all of them, but these are some of my favorite albums that I reach for when this time of year does approach. So I'm going to talk about first an album from a Swedish band that was released in 1999. It's not my favorite album by the band. It's one of their better albums. It's easily one of their best albums from the early part of their catalog. You can make a case that one or two of the albums that came before are as kind of great as this album is, but I think for me this is their first truly great album, start to finish. That is Opeth, Still Life, like I said, from 1999, Peaceville Records. Again, sometimes the cover art has a lot to do with the kind of the feel that you get from the music contained within it. I would argue that the cover artwork on Still Life perfectly matches what you get on the inside. It's progressive metal, yes. It's death metal, yes. It's a little bit of folk metal or folk in general. There's a little bit of prog on here. There's some gothic elements in here. This is the Opeth that I love and that I reach for when the weather starts to turn a little bit in the fall. Great stuff on here. The Moor is on here. Benighted is on here. Godhead's Lament is on here. I mean, Face of Melinda. There's just this wonderful back and forth between like prog rock and melodic folk and crushing death metal and intricate progressive metal, and it's all steeped in atmosphere, and just this is something about it that is so fall season for me. It's so autumnal. It's just absolutely amazing. So yeah, Still Life is my first pick for today. My second, and I could pick any number of albums from this band because this is another band that I tend to reach for more often in the fall and winter months. I don't know what it is. There's really nothing musically that just screams this type of year, but it's for some reason a lot of the characteristics of this band just kind of hit me more in this time of year. And I'm going to pick from 1975, Graaf Generator, God Bluff. I almost went with Still Life. Then I would have two albums titled Still Life here for this segment because the Still Life, to me, God Bluff and Still Life kind of go together, and Still Life has the very autumn, fall-looking, tree on the front and everything like that. But I tend to maybe favor this just ever so slightly, but they both go together. They're both perfect for this time of year. This band, of course, Graaf Generator, if you don't know who they are, they're a progressive rock band from the 70s. They got past the 70s as well. We've seen them in more recent times as well, but their classic era was the 70s, originally part of the Charisma label. And this particular record kind of comes to the point where the band, they took some time off. Then they got back together and regrouped. They released God Bluff and Still Life, two of absolute favorites in the catalog for me, and great return to form for the band. It's angry, it's dark, it's kind of bleak music, lots of organ. You got sax, you got the kind of angsty vocals of Peter Hamill. Right on here, you got great tracks like The Undercover Man and Scorched Earth and Arrow. Arrow is just absolutely so amazing in the Sleepwalkers, right? All these big, long, epic tracks filled with, crazy organ and angry saxophone and those angry vocals and the great drumming. Occasional bursts of guitars, right? But it's just very, very dense music filled with lots of emotion and cacophony, and I don't know, something about it just. I like to hear it in this time of year. Great album. God Bluff by Graaf Generator. Now, maybe the granddaddy of all of these, right? So, and this album, to me, is just perfect for, like, October. Absolutely perfect for October. I don't reach for this album as much. It's my favorite band of all time. I don't reach for this one as much. I love it. But this time of year, the album cover screams it. The music screams it. Black Sabbath, self-titled debut, right? Originally released on Vertigo Records, Warner Brother. Look at that. That's fall right here. That just screams fall. And everything about this is just kind of bleak, bluesy, dirty, kind of evil, kind of progressive, right? Title track, Black Sabbath. Perfect. You got The Wizard. You got NIB, Behind the Wall of Sleep. Wicked World, Warning, right? All the jam and all that kind of stuff. There's just something just dark and dense about this, and it's perfect for all the leaves are falling off the trees. You got a little bit of color like this here. Like I said, I think the album cover perfectly matches this type of season, and the music is also indicative of it as well. So absolutely great. It's from 1970, of course. Next up, we're going to go to an album from 1978. Arguably it's generally speaking my number 2 favorite album from the band. It has been number 1 at times. In more recent years, it's been number 2 pretty steadily. That is Hemispheres by Rush. Classic stuff. Again, prog metal, hard rock, all blended together. You got the big title track, Cygnus X1 Book 2, 18 minutes long to kick off the album. So good. Love the little, like I said, it's what's great about this album, what's great about the kind of fall, there's this kind of like mysticalness about this and the nice blending. There's a great acoustic classical guitars on this album. There's the big heavy bombast. There's the prog. A lot of really cool kind of sci-fi themes. There's more earthy themes on here. You get Circumstances on side 2. You get the Trees, right? Trees is perfect for this time of year. And then, of course, La Villa Strangiato. And La Villa Strangiato, to me, is a perfect fall song. It's just so good. It's all instrumental, got great parts to it, got that wonderful acoustic guitar from Alex at the beginning. The bass playing is just great. The drumming, the whole 9 yards, just so good. And there's just something about it. The production of this album, the all the elements that make up this record, to me, is this is a fall album for me. Always has been. Not that I don't listen to it other times of the year, but I really want to hear this time of year. All right, next up from 1970, Led Zeppelin III. An album I really did not like at all when I was a kid. It took me many years to grow to love this album, and now, again, there's something about, like, acoustic guitars, and again, maybe not all, because you guys know me, I'm not a big folk guy. I don't like a lot of all acoustic albums and bands that just do acoustic stuff. I enjoy it in spurts, and I think that there's something very woodsy and very fallsy or autumnsy, I know those are not words, about this record, which has a combination of the heavy rockin' Led Zeppelin, the bluesy Led Zeppelin, and the folk aspect of Led Zeppelin. I think this album perfectly balances it, and there's a lot more folk on here than on any other Zeppelin album, and there's just something very cool about this particular album that just screams this time of year for me. You get the blast of things like the Immigrant Song and Celebration Day. You get and Out on the Tiles. You get Since I've Been Loving You, the great blues. I think Friends is terrific. And then, Gallows Pole and Tangerine and all that other great stuff on side two. The great, nice folky stuff. The vocals are amazing. The guitar playing is amazing. Just so good. So good. I just realized there's one album that I didn't pick for this that I really should have picked. I'll talk about it at the end because I think it's worth mentioning, that I completely spazzed on not mentioning. Next up from 1974, I'm going to go with the Mahavishnu Orchestra Apocalypse. Again, I have albums in this catalog that I like a lot more. Like, I think from this era, the second era of Mahavishnu, I tend to prefer Visions of the Emerald Beyond. Of course, Intermounting Flame and Birds of Fire and the Lost Trinity stuff and the live album, to me, those are the great Mahavishnu Orchestra albums. And sometimes I kind of overlook the Jean-Luc Ponty, Narada Michael Walden era a little bit because it's just so different, right? But this album, very orchestral. Of course, this includes the orchestra, the London Symphony Orchestra. This is very big and bombastic and orchestral. And again, there's lots of acoustic elements on here. There's lots of kind of like the Indian influence and whatnot, but great stuff. Very, though, kind of symphonic and orchestral. This is not as much a fusion album as those early albums from Mahavishnu, but John McLaughlin was really interested in doing some really different stuff here. Vision as a Naked Sword is on here, Smile of the Beyond, Wings of Karma, you got Hymn to Him, big 19 minutes long, and of course Power of Love, which kicks it off. Cool stuff on here, but again, this kind of, again, this whole trees thing, this whole the violins and, the orchestra and everything, just very much a fall record for me. Okay, next up, I'm going to go to 1994. This is an album that from a band that I love. They just released a new album, and much of their music is kind of they're from Finland, so there is this kind of fall winterness to a lot of their stuff. But most of the albums from this band I can listen to all year long. This particular album for me is a fall and winter album for sure. It's more fall than anything else, and it's the first album I ever heard from the band, and it's very different than what they do now. But it's still really cool, and the cover art totally signifies everything that the album feels like. It's Amorphis, Tales from a Thousand Lakes. What do you call this? Death metal? Doom metal? Folk metal? It's all those things rolled into one on this album. This is a very doomy album for them, and a very kind of bleak and kind of cold and earthy album. Like I said, there is doom on here. There's definitely little bits of folk stuff. There's melodic death metal. It's all kind of rolled into one. The bigger, brighter sounds, the more gothic sounds and proggy sounds of today. Not really here way back then. But all sorts of great stuff on here. You know, Black Winter Days on here. You know, Thousand Lakes, The Castaway, First Doom. I mean, Forgotten Sunrise. All sorts of stuff. The title track. I mean, the names of the titles of the songs all convey this kind of feeling of like the fall, the colder months, and things like that. Very indicative of kind of like maybe the weather and the climate over there in Finland, right? It perfectly gives you that vibe. So good. Tales from a Thousand Lakes by Amorphis. Next up, from 1975, going back and forth here. Got a few from 75 in this list today. We've got the Electric Light Orchestra, Face the Music. I don't know why this is a fall album for me. I really don't. But it is. There's just certain things about it that I like to hear when the weather's a little cooler. Like if I'm going to go grab for ELO in the summertime, I don't generally reach for this. I'll reach for the albums that come after it. But when the weather gets colder, I want to hear that great instrumental Fire on High. Because I remember, like, growing up, watching, like, the sports shows on Saturday afternoons, like in the fall and the winter when you're indoors on a Saturday. You know, you're a kid growing up, you're watching all sorts of weird sports, and, you know, you hear the opening blast to that that spooky beginning, right? The spookiness, oh, Halloween. Ooh, just awesome stuff, right? And then you got, you know, more lush stuff like Waterfall, you know, Evil Woman, Knight Rider, Poker, the hard rock of the Strange Magic, you know. To me, it's just more of like a fall album. This just gives me the warm and fuzzies for this time of year. This is something I would put on like late at night, pop this on, you know. It's nighttime outside, maybe like early evening. It's already dark outside. It's a little chilly. Just turn the heat up a little bit. You're sitting on the couch. You want to pop something on. Maybe you're sitting down cooking something or whatever. This is the album you put on this time of year. Just love it. All right. Also from 1975, we're going to go with Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. To me, I know a lot of people say like the title track is like one of the great summertime campfire songs. To me, it's more like a fall bonfire song. You know, maybe you pull out an acoustic guitar, you start playing it, maybe you're all just singing it. Maybe just to me, like the chilling nature of Shine On You Crazy Diamond, whether it's, you know, the first parts or the second or the ending parts, you know, Welcome to the Machine. There's just something colder and chilling and somewhat creepy about this record that I always really liked. And to me, I've always liked this in the fall. You know, Have a Cigar. There's just the synthesizer tones on this album, the guitar, the vocals, just the overall vibe of this record. This was just not a summertime album, not a spring album. This is a fall album for me. Always was. And I can honestly say that probably about a lot of Pink Floyd albums. Like I almost picked Animals here because I think Animals is a good fall album too, but I think this is even more so. Even more so. And my last choice for today, and this is not really a historical choice for a fall album, but it has become like my fall album this year. So this is a current one. And, you know, I would have, if you would have asked me a couple months ago, I would have said, oh, no, this particular album, it's more of kind of like a summer album because it's got like this kind of like urban, funky feel to it. And it's, you know, it's more, it sounds like more like something you'd play. Like I sometimes I envision this album like the soundtrack to like, you know, like you're in New York City or in like Harlem or something like that, or anywhere really, or in Brooklyn, Prospect Park, right? And you got kids are out playing, everybody's milling about, you got the fire hydrants, someone opened up the fire hydrant, there's like water spurting all over the place, people are out and about all over and stuff like that, people sitting on the corners, on the street corners, right? From 1972, it's Miles Davis, On the Corner. The reason why this has made my list this year, I've been listening to this a ton of late. This has been like the soundtrack to the fall here in 2025 for me. And I don't know why, because I still feel that part of this is like a summer album, but to me, it's become like a late summer album. Like to me, this really fit with the vibe of the late summer into the early fall, that kind of like, you know, Indian summer thing that we experienced here. And there's something kind of like, I don't know, raw and like primal about this. And it just kind of matched with the leaves turning brown, the leaves falling down, the leaves starting to mill on the ground and decaying and falling apart. And just this whole like kind of, there's like a chaoticness to this. There's even though it's so dense and there's so much going on, like rhythmically, and the guitars are angry and ugly, and the horns are just like, they just kind of bleed in and out. There's nothing really melodic about this, and it's like harsh. And sometimes fall can be harsh, especially when, like here, it's been dry, and the gorgeousness of the yellow and orange and red leaves. We haven't really had that. It's gone from like green to like brown because it's been so dry here, because we haven't had any rain. And the harshness of this album is matching the harshness of this early fall here. And there's just been something magical about the music on this album that has really kind of taken me through the last couple of weeks here in the early part of the fall here in the Hudson Valley. So yeah, I really love this a lot. This is an interesting period in the career of Miles Davis. This is like dirty, angry, dissonant funk and fusion. This is not the, this is not the bebop gorgeous jazz of Miles in the 60s, and this is not the crazy fusion stuff of Bitches Brew or Jack Johnson or In a Silent Way. This is just like chaotic, angry, harsh, dissonant stuff, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, there's nothing gets me more jacked than like, the title track or, the first couple tracks on here. There's just like, the bass is just kind of popping away. It's grooving, and like the guitars are just angry and just noisy. And then, Miles comes in and out with that trumpet and all the other, horns and saxes that are going on. And then the percussion, it's crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff, but I love it. It's really vibing with how fall is turning out for me here in 2025. So that is my last pick. The one I mentioned before, which I can't believe I forgot, Songs from the Woods by Jethro Tull. That has always been a favorite fall album for me. I can't believe I forgot Song from the Wood. It's Songs from the Wood. It's so good. And you can make the case for Heavy Horses as well. And maybe because Heavy Horses also is a great fall album, but both of those albums are also good in the winter too. But then, you got Stormwatt. So chances are I'll probably, when I do the winter episode, I'll probably fall back on Jethro Tull there. But I probably should have had Jethro Tull on this list for Songs from the Wood, or Heavy Horses, either one, because they both fit. So those are my picks for this episode. So let us know what some of your favorite fall albums are, those albums you reach for in the autumn season, right, when the weather starts to change. Like I said, if you're in an area that doesn't really have the seasons like we do here, I understand you can't really play along, right? So I totally get it. But if you do experience the seasonal changes, and you do have specific albums that you like to listen to throughout the course of the year at different times of the year, and you have your kind of go-to fall albums, please put them down in the comments below and play along. And we'll do this again at the start of winter, so that's coming in just couple short months, right? Not too far away, and we'll do this all over again. And I probably will do. I don't think we did one this spring. I think Jamie Lazo and I did summer albums like a number of years ago, but I probably will revisit the summer thing once again when we get to that point. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options, all down below. Thanks in advance for all your support, folks. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll see you soon here with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. I realized I should have had a Guinness with this, right? That would have been nice to do, but since I recorded this early in the morning, probably not the best time to have a Guinness. But normally, I would have sat and had a Guinness while talking about these albums, but maybe next time. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.